Ever wonder why that one comment hit harder than anything else? Why this situation totally throws you off balance when 10 others didn't? Because triggers are invitations. That overreaction is your soul waving a flag saying, hey, there's something you haven't healed or strengthened yet. And if you're willing to look, not react, that moment you almost lost it, that is your lesson. In this video, we'll explore how your biggest triggers are actually your most powerful teachers, how to use them to grow instead of spiral, and how your aura holds the answer to turning that negative energy around. Why is it certain things can really trigger us, and what is going on in the auric field when this is happening? There are two powerful principles at work here. Let's start with the auric field. You have this incredible energy field in you and around you. It is the energetic blueprint of the soul, and everything that you're manifesting, expressing, is showing up and creating power in the auric field. If it's in your aura, it'll show up in your life. Now, as part of our auric expression, we have exchanges of auric energy with each other. It's not just conversation or maybe physical interaction. When we're working with other people, when we're enjoying each other's company, there's an auric exchange that goes on. And when it's a beautiful exchange, it's incredibly uplifting and enlivening. We all know what it's like when we get together with good friends or family and we have a great time. Everybody feels wonderful, right? Well, it's of course the company, but also the auric exchanges going on between auras, which is a perfectly natural thing, is an uplifting, beautiful quality and very elevating. In the same way, if we have a fight or we have this family discord and we're arguing with others, that same exchange is going on, but it's discordant, it's debilitating. So after a fight or after a distress with other people, we feel weakened, we feel depleted. And that's because the auric exchange was not moving on a strong level. So the point is, we've got to develop these better auric exchanges with others, and also how to handle things when maybe others are in not such a wonderful place, but you're doing okay and you don't want to fall into that pit, so to speak. So here's a very important principle regarding the auric field. No energy from the outside can enter your auric field unless somewhere you're permitting it. Now, what do we mean by this? Well, let's say somebody were to get very angry at you. Something happened and normally you would have gotten angry right back at them. And yes, it could have escalated into a fight, and then both of you would have felt miserable. But what's happening in the auric field? Well, when that person is angry, of course, their own energy field is generating a very ugly energy. It's a dirty, dark red energy showing that anger. But it's not just in their energy field. Because they're directing the anger to you, they are unconsciously projecting an auric energy of anger towards you, towards your auric field. Now, when that's happening, you actually have a choice. Now, when it's happening live, we may not realize this, but it is a choice. We can react to that angry situation, or we can not react to it. That's a choice. But what is happening in the aura is when you react to that person being angry at you, kind of the instinctual urge, oh, you hit me, I'll hit you right back. When you get into that mode, what happens is you are first inviting that energy into you. That projecting of angry energy that's moving towards you, now because you reacted, you first invited that energy into your aura. Of course, it created a reactive power. It stirred your own anger inside of you, and now you're stirred and angry, and you're, guess what? Projecting it right back to them. And this is why arguments, if cooler heads don't prevail, can turn into full-fledged fights, because there's this bouncing back of energy. Now, but you have another choice, not to react. I know that instinctual urge or maybe that prompting just wants you to go do it. But if that energy is coming at you and you're even silently, without even saying a word to them, saying, I refuse this energy. I refuse to get angry. I refuse to get upset. I'm going to stay in my own divine center. When you do that, that energy doesn't enter into your aura. You're not giving it any room. And that, of course, prevents you from having a reaction to this. And usually it starts to dissipate the energy because it's like a fire. A fire wants something else to consume. Well, if you're not giving it more to consume, it starts to peter out, right? Often when people are upset, they, in a sense, want you to react. They're trying to get you riled up. And when you're not responding to that, you're not fueling the fire. So one of the most important things we have to realize is how we react to things going on around us. It's one of the great tests of character, one of the great tests of where you are in your own spiritual energy, because quite frankly, it's exhausting to get upset. It takes energy to get triggered and despondent. And again, it doesn't have to be anger. It could be a trigger of grief, a trigger of sadness. Any negative emotional reaction can be a trigger point. But all that creates a darkened energy in the auric field, and it takes power to be worried, angry, and upset. It's depleting the aura. You have to sort of clear it out. You have to sort of get over it. And it takes time to rebuild it up. Really, we don't have the luxury of these unenlightened emotions and thoughts. If we're really on the spiritual path, we need to learn how to really conserve the energy, apply it for the things that are really needed. Now, of course, in these situations, we're not saying if somebody's doing something that might be hurting you or might be doing something in a deliberate way, of course you respond to it. But responding and reacting are, in a sense, two different things. You can be strong and say, hey, step back. You're stepping on my toes right now. But not get emotionally reactive, emotionally upset. When you feel, let's say, the blood boiling or that you can't get it out of your mind even after it's over, that means it adversely affected you. But if you're standing your ground, if a burglar's trying to come to your house and you're pushing him off, of course you have to be strong there. You need that dynamic power to push away because sometimes people are trying to push into your auric energy. And by the way, they don't even need to be physically there. Let's say someone sends you an angry email or an angry text. Have you ever noticed when you've read that text, that energy that they put in when they did the text or the email, it's getting transmitted to you. So you can still get upset even if there isn't a direct physical exchange. That same reactive energy can be going on. So here we have to be careful. And especially now, we may think because they're not physically in the room, I'm safe. But if I see myself getting all upset over this, the first thing you got to do is try to get that emotional nature back into neutral, back into equilibrium, even if you don't have an answer to the situation. And then when it comes your time to act, you want to come, of course, from a place of strength. If you're coming from a place of emotionally upset, the action you're going to take is not going to be very productive. There may be a momentary satisfaction. Okay, you hit them or you yelled at them. Maybe you got a momentary release, but it didn't really fix the problem. So because we live in this sea of energy, we have to be vigilant with how we're interacting with life. We want those healthy, beautiful, positive interactions. It's what makes life exciting. At the same time, just like if we go down a dangerous street, we got to be alert to things that might be pulling on us or distressing in us. The same principle holds true. Now, the other big thing regarding triggers is a more subtle, or I should say, digging deeper into our psyche, digging deeper into our character. So let's say, and this could be a person or it could be a situation. Situations can trigger us too, as well as people. But let's say somebody says something and it's a little demeaning, it's not very kind, and we don't just get upset, we almost overreact to it. And we almost go off the handle. And it really bothers us that this person did this. So in these situations, of course, we can just think of the things that they didn't do that were so good, and that just makes us actually more angry, and then we may never want to ever see them again. But if we have to work with them, or if it's a family member, we can't just walk away. So it makes it more complicated. But as spiritual truth seekers, when these moments happen, we need to step back for a moment and say, well, okay, that person did something that was really stupid or unkind, but why did it bother me so much? What was it about that situation? Others have kind of acted like jerks, but it didn't bother me at all. But when they said this to me, I lost it. So it hit a soft spot. Bless those that can push your buttons, because they are your teachers. If someone can push your button in such a way as that, it means there's a weakness in yourself. There's something in you that you need to look at and pay attention to. Remember, evolution is not about the other people. Everyone has their own evolution to take care of. Spiritual evolution is about your growth. So you want to develop this point of view where you're taking time to try to reflect on what really bothered me. Now, in this example, let's say this person, when they were a child, did not have the greatest upbringing. Their parents were not supportive, maybe said, oh, you're not going to amount to much, so don't expect too much. You know, sometimes parents are incredibly stupid in what they do, especially don't really know how to even be a parent. And this kind of sunk into the child because the child looks up to the parent, right? And that's their world, especially in the very young years. So they're taking things in very deeply. And this child may develop a sense of what? Low self-esteem. Okay, maybe I won't amount to much. They just sort of accept it. Then as they grow up into adults, they start pursuing, let's say this person pursues their life, and they start being successful in something they're doing. They get their own family, they build a nice career. So they're feeling much better about themselves. But still, when this person pushed this particular button, you start to realize, oh wow, they triggered that low self-esteem button. Even though I'm not that child anymore, I'm not in that situation anymore, it's still there. And this is the big thing. We can have experiences that could have been 20 years ago, but if they haven't been cleared from the auric energy, it's kind of like a file in a hard drive. It doesn't matter if you put the file in the hard drive 20 years ago or yesterday. If you pick the right prompt, there's the file in living color. The same way with us. When the right prompts and the right triggers are pushed, if those unresolved issues are there, they're still going to come up. So what really upset you in that situation wasn't the fact that they said something stupid or demeaning. It's because it triggered that feeling, yeah, maybe I am stupid, maybe I'm not really worth that much. It re-triggered all that stuff again, even though you're not in that situation. Now, the beauty is, because it's later, because you are in a much better place in your life, you can really do something about it. You can start now to say, okay, I am not in that situation anymore, and maybe my parents didn't understand what was going on. I'm going to forgive them. You can start working on that. Please, when things of the past like this do pop up, it's just a sign not to relive them, not to go back in those muddy waters again, but it's time to work on them. It's time to resolve them. And the fact that maybe this did trigger you so much is a signal this is the time you can. And because you're feeling a little safer now, because you're in a better place in your life, and you're starting to realize, no, I am a person of value. I am a precious child of the divine. I'm accomplished. You can rechange those old tapes. And then guess what's the ideal? Okay, that situation happens again. Somebody else says something stupid and demeaning. It just doesn't even faze you. You know you have worked through that trigger when you're triggered again, but there's nothing to trigger. And that's one of the most satisfying things in our whole spiritual journey, when we see the maturity of our character. Things that used to upset us so much, that used to bother us so much, they just don't. We've outgrown that. We're not that same person anymore. So when this happens with us, in a way, what you want to do is be ready for the unexpected. We don't know when these trigger points are going to happen. They don't signal, okay, here comes a big test. It doesn't work like that. The whole point is to catch you off guard or get you in that moment when these things can show themselves for what they are. So don't feel bad, even if you've worked on something and it's still getting triggered. It means you're in the process of working through it, but it's not fully resolved yet. These things can take time. You know, you don't necessarily pull out all the weeds from the garden in one session. it sometimes can take a little while. But don't despair, keep at it, because eventually you can take it all out. Socrates said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." And what he meant by that is we all have to take some time in our life to reflect. We live in a very fast-paced time, and it's a lot of things we do are transactional, and some of the challenge today is not we're interacting with others, but sometimes our interaction is transactional, not quality time, right? So we need time to meditate, we need time to interact, but we also need some time to reflect. In the ancient mystery schools, you'd work during the day, you'd do the things you did during the day. In evening time, you'd have your communal meal together. And then often in the evening, it would be a time of self-reflection. How did I handle things today? What could I have done better? What did I do right? And that reflecting time was like kind of assimilating everything that happened, but also preparing you, because the more you sort of prepare for this, so when those unexpected things do happen, you're handling it better. And of course, in the aura starts blooming even more. The aura starts getting brighter and brighter and brighter, because if I had these low self-esteems or this, that, the other, these are like spots in the auric field. They're not such great energies. And we are in this process of dispelling the more unenlightened energies, inviting more of the enlightened. So as you're working through these character weaknesses, and that's all that they are, is character weaknesses, nothing more than that, then you're getting stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. And that also means you can go into those situations sometimes that are not so wonderful, and you can hold that candle of truth because you're in that place of strength. It does take power to do this, and sometimes we need more time to build up that spiritual power. So the first thing is we have to be willing to look at ourselves honestly. Remember, truth sets you free. If I see a blemish in myself, it's not part of the eternal me. It's just like an unrefined part of me that needs developing. Maybe, we're that precious jewel, but the facets haven't all been cut yet, and we're not that faceted jewel quite yet. So if you're noticing some rough edges in there, you want to look at those honestly and openly and say, how can I improve myself? We tend to sometimes be very critical of other people, but very forgiving with ourselves. I would reverse that. Be very forgiving with other people and their faults, and be very meticulous in taking care of your own. And as you do this, your aura is going to start to brighten. The powers are going to increase in you, and they will start expressing themselves more. And as they do, you've got to give them that expression so that they can fully integrate into your life. If this video speaks to you, please check out our book, Change Your Aura, Change Your Life, and please subscribe to this channel for more videos like this.